Here we are for another Post Status Happiness Hour live. And I could almost call you a frequent flyer now because I keep inviting you to talk about all the different things that you do and I do. And it's kind of fun. Like, usually it's a little darker in your corner, though. You usually like all this mysterious, but you actually have a light on behind you this time.
Yeah, there's actually a window there that I just keep covered most of the time.
Okay.
But I've felt a little bit like I'm being in a dungeon, so decided to
Yeah.
open the window up and let some light in.
No, it doesn't look like your wife makes you work in the basement. So.
No.
Awesome. Well, you and I have been working on quite a few things over the years that I call community gifts and you call community gifts because even though sometimes we have sponsorship on them, things like that, they're really not created to be money makers. You and I are not trying to get rich off some of the services that we provide to the community. And so when you had put out shortly after I got laid off from working at Stellar and before I had secured some other contracts that would keep keep food on my table, as they say, I had been approached by Kinsta to sponsor some of my hours. So they sponsor 5 hours a month for me, which is super awesome. But that leaves about 35 hours a month that is unsponsored. And I thought, I am really, really bad at going and knocking on doors and saying, would you give me some money, please? Right? I'm just like, it's not in my nature. And then other people do it so well. And like, no heat to them at all. No shame. Because, hey, if you're really good at that, go for it. But it's not something I'm comfortable with. So I thought, what could I do to kind of put it out there as a need? And before I even had thought to solve a problem, you had added something to the WP world that said open to sponsorship. And I thought, well, that's great, but like, how do people know? How do they get in touch with me? I love that it's there. And then I had this idea to create a similar database to some of the others I've created before, like the WP speakers and Underrepresented in Tech. And I thought, I don't want to replace anything that you do because I think the things that we've done together or even separately that kind of meld together nicely are really complementary and really work to help across the board. And I have no idea how you make all the things work that you make work. And you can keep saying, I'm not a developer. Well, in my book, you are a developer because I'm not. But I said to you, what if we took that concept like one step further and did something like a sponsorship website where people who are seeking sponsorship can put it out there, their bio, things like that. It's not the WP world, so it's not everything, but it'll link back to the WP world because we put that in there. And you made it, you can show in a few minutes how easy it is if you've got a WP world to just like, boom, all your information comes in, which I think is brilliant. But also a way for people to be contacted easily, not be the middleman, like no money is funneling through us, all of that, but make it easy for sponsors to find contributors and for contributors to seek sponsorship. And you said, yep, I'm in, which that was music to my ears because I love the WP world and everything that you put into it. And I've learned this thing where if I get people to work with me, I don't have to do all the work myself. Like it took me 56 years, but I figured it out. And so partnering with you on this was just a no-brainer to me. And you took what was in my head and made it so much better than I ever could have envisioned it being. And so Sponsor Me WP was born. And so I want to hear from your side of things. Like, were you like, oh God, Michelle has another project and I can't say no?
No, I feel like it was almost kind of like serendipity, right? Because you, like you said, you were going down this path after you got laid off of like, how do I now supplement that income in different ways? Sponsorship's a great way for that. And at the same time, while you were mulling that over, our friend Taco over in the post at a Slack was asking, hey, is there a place where people can find, who's looking for sponsorship? And I'd read that message and I was like, you know what? That completely makes sense for something in the WP world. I already have, this list of people that are in the WordPress ecosystem that are doing things in WordPress. Why not add a simple checkbox and a link for people to be able to say that they're looking for sponsorship? Then you can click through that link and learn some more. A lot of those are like GitHub links, so people can do the sponsorship stuff. And so when you approached me and were like, not everyone's a developer, not everybody has that GitHub link, and like, this is what I'm looking for as well. Can we build something? You and I have been looking for a while to do some stuff together,
Yeah.
and a lot of our projects like sort of intertwine with each other, but haven't been something that we like together built.
Right.
And so when you were like, hey, I see that you added this to the WP world, is there a way that we can do some version of that that's maybe a little bit broader, a little bit more inclusive of people that aren't
A little more
necessarily
robust. Yeah.
developers, a place where people can talk a little bit more about their contribution, where on the WP world there's not really a bio, like it's sort of more of a resume, and you can see what people are doing in WordPress as plugins and themes that they've built and videos now and all of that stuff, but there's not really a place for a bio for you to really talk about who you are as a WordPresser and what you're doing, and especially when it comes to contributions and how you contribute to the space and stuff. And so I thought that was a great idea. Let's build a site where people can go ahead and sign up there. They can talk a little bit more about how they contribute to WordPress. And then there's a direct contact link there rather than sending someone off to a GitHub page. We do have, a place where people can still put that info in, but rather than sending people off to different places, let's just give a direct contact there. So if you're a sponsor, someone who has some sponsorship dollars and they're looking to find places where you can plug into the WordPress ecosystem, this is a great place for you to go find people who are looking for money to be sponsored, to contribute to the ecosystem. And then, they can tag themselves in the different teams and the stuff that they want to work on. So you as a sponsor, if you're really excited about like the WordPress photo directory, which is, I know, something that you and I are both part of, you can help that grow by contributing or by sponsoring contributors that are working on the photo directory and things related to the photo directory. So we'll look at it in a second, but you can kind of narrow down even the things that you want to put your sponsorship dollars towards, depending on what things contributors are working on. And so anyways, you came to me with that, and I was already sort of thinking about it because of the WP world, and it just sort of fell into place. I feel like it was the perfect time for us to put this together. And so you and I sat down, tried to determine, what does this look like? What are we looking for from people? How does this tie into maybe some of the other things that we're doing? Like you said, it connects to the WP world. So we have that tie in to our other projects. And in that particular case, it just makes it easier for you to pull your info in if you're already part of the WP world, to sign up for, Sponsor Me WP and get your info in there. Takes, a click, a few seconds, and most of your info is in there. Then you can focus more on writing that, that bio of like how you want to contribute, and really selling what it is that you're doing in the ecosystem to sponsors who are looking to come through and sponsor you for that work. So I thought the timing was just perfect.
And at the same time, I was having conversations with June Liu about Speed Network Online. And so I spun up a site with one of my hosts, and she went to work on it like literally between Monday and Wednesday it launched. And suddenly you're saying, hey, look at this. I got the prototype. What does this look like? And I'm like, wow, that was fast. You're like, I couldn't let like the Speed Network just go that fast. It was making me jealous.
I did. I got a little jealous that somebody was publishing something and I wasn't publishing something new. So I got to work.
They both went up pretty quick. Hey, June, and June's in the comments saying hello. We're singing your praises, June. I don't know if you heard that. But so I had two projects go up pretty darn fast, which is exciting to me. One of my biggest concerns, and everybody that knows me is like, you should not have been concerned about that. But one of my biggest concerns was when you've been laid off, if you take any time off to regroup, kind of heal from emotions and all of that, that you start to become irrelevant. Like if people aren't seeing you in the community, they can forget you fairly quickly. And yes, I was still working with Postata, so I know that wasn't really going to happen, but I needed to be busy. I needed to sit down at my desk every day and work so I wouldn't get comfortable laying on the sofa watching movies and eating grapes. So
I think that's definitely a possibility, but probably less so than anyone thinks in their head.
Probably for sure,
especially if you've been part of the community for a while the way that you have, and you're still going to events and still in post status.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a fear, right? And so I wanted to
Yeah,
make sure
sure.
that I was creating and doing things that felt like work and putting things forward into the community positive way. So that June and I, partnered up on one, and that you and I partnered up on Sponsor Me WP was very exciting to me. But what I really want to show, well, first of all, we launched it on whatever day we launched it. I don't remember. And
Yeah, I
like
don't either know.
within I know it's like it was a couple weeks ago. Within a couple of days, there were like, there's already like 30 people in there.
Mhm.
And like a couple more days go by, and I'm like, I think I was at WordCamp Europe, and I was like, I pulled it up, I was like, there's 74 people in there. And then I looked today, and I think that the count as of right before the show was 90. So
Yep,
clearly there are a lot of people.
92 right now.
Yep. A
Getting close
lot.
to that triple
Crazy.
digit mark already,
I know,
just within a couple of
exciting.
weeks.
So what I wanted to do is have you, because I manage all the other things while the show's going on here, do a little demo of the site, and kind of walk us through how people can get involved, what it looks like, and how it works. So I'm going to add that to the screen now and let you kind of give us a little walkthrough.
Awesome. Well, I'm already logged in, so let me log out real quick just to show how easy it is. I mean, got our main landing page that just kind of talks a little bit about what Sponsor Me WP is. Pretty simple. Create your profile. Sponsors can come in and find people that they want to sponsor for contributions, and overall that helps us grow the WordPress ecosystem together. And then a little bit of info about us down here. But
I love the AI images of us. The little cartoons is
oh
hysterical.
yeah. Yeah, I had I found some that looked pretty fun, and then I was challenging ChatGPT to turn our like avatar photos from, I think these are both our like Twitter photos,
I think so, yeah.
into the style of whatever the style was that I found, and it did
Looks
a
pretty
fun
good.
job. I thought
Yeah.
it was fun photos, so I went with those
Yeah.
instead of the usual ultra realistic photos.
Yeah. I
I
think
thought they were
they're fun
fun.
too. Mhm.
So yeah, it's super easy. Kept the sign up form nice and short. Email, first name, last name, and password, and you're in. So let me go ahead and log into mine. And so once you have an account, you'll and every time you log in, you're automatically sent to the update profile page by default. So there's always a chance for you to clean up anything, make any changes. Let's say you get someone that sponsors contribution for 5 hours. It's easy for you to come in here and update the number of hours, so that people can get a good look at how much contribution you're still looking for, sponsorship you're still looking for. So pretty simple, the usual. Thanks, Mark Westgard. Shout out for his
WS
WS
form.
form, making life easy for us again. I use
Mhm.
it all over the WP world, so it made sense to put it in here as
Yeah.
well, and keep everything in check for us. And so there's a couple of tabs here. Personal info. This is that bio area where you get to really talk about what it is that you do contributing to the WordPress ecosystem.
Including
So that,
adding links. You made it possible to be able to even add links within the text there.
yeah, you can add some links within the text here if you want to share, links to some of the examples of things that you've done, or just kind of however you want to structure I kind of wanted to take the rules and limitations off a little bit about how you structure your own bio, so everyone kind
Mhm.
of is able to kind of share a little bit about what they do in their own way, which is going to differ whether you're a developer or a photo directory or a marketing team, or so, like all the
Right.
different like ways that you can contribute are very different, and you have different opportunities to share examples of what you've done or what you're working on and stuff like that. So it's pretty open. Yeah, you can share links in here to any of those spots. Then there's a tab for social, which gives you a chance to put on all your different social links so that you can link to those, including our other projects, WP Speakers and WP World.
Mhm.
And then there's the sponsorship section itself is where you're going to want to kind of fill out the bulk besides the bio. This is where you fill out your handle, talk a little bit about the number of hours that you're trying to get covered and how many you already have covered sponsorship wise. If you have that GitHub URL that we were talking about before, or some other way to share some sponsorship information with potential sponsors, you can put the URL in here.
Mhm.
And then we have all of the teams the make teams listed here, so that you can choose any of the make teams that you want to be involved with. I know that contribution also sometimes falls outside of some of these make teams. Like if you want to be sponsored to contribute to like PHP or Node.js or some of the other open source projects, I wanted to give people the opportunity to add those things in as well. So
Sure.
if you have other projects outside of the make teams that you want to be sponsored for, you can add those here. So
Love that.
if you're following along video, you see this little thing in the corner that popped up that's just been sitting there. And it popped up when I first got here onto the page, and it says, want to speed up your profile creation, import your data from the WP world. This is kind of the like fanciness that I was excited. Not that I wasn't excited to build the rest of the website, but excited to try to figure out if I could actually make this piece work.
And you did.
And I did. And so if you sign up with the same email address that you signed up for at the WP World, so that's like the only real criteria there. If you're using different email addresses, it's not going to work this way.
Right.
That little pop-up just won't show up, I don't think.
Because that's the key.
So that's the key. If you sign up with the same email address that you signed up for at the WP World, then you can click this import from the WP World, and it will show you all of the things that you filled out at the WP World that correspond with what's going on at Sponsor Me WP. And so you can fully apply all of them, or if you just want to update your .org handle and your WP speakers URL and your website URL, you can choose those individually and hit apply, and it'll just only update those things for you. So you have full control over what it is that you want to pull from the WP World over into Sponsor Me WP.
It's super nice that you don't have to put all your social handles in and type those all out.
Yeah, all the social handles, track them down, copy them, make sure they're in the right format and everything. This handles all of that and pastes it in for you. So yeah, exactly. You know, you could just give me Twitter, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, Mastodon, and hit apply, and then all your social handles are in and ready to go. So I was very excited to figure that one out. And
I was super impressed when I saw it, that's for sure.
Yeah, very excited for that. So then you filled out your information, and you end up in our list of contributors here on the site. Very intentionally, this is a random pull of contributors. What we wanted to make sure was that we didn't prioritize, 10 people. 10 people because their last name starts with A, B, or C or something like that. So every
and those
time
poor people whose last names are W never get sponsored.
Right, all the way at the bottom, never get noticed or anything like that. So this is intentionally random. If you have a particular person that you're looking for, like Michelle, you can start to type it in, and it'll pull up that person for you. If you want to sort it by last name, there is a button over here where you can click the button, and then they will be sorted by last name for you. That's totally up to you. And then I'll refresh again just so it randomizes again. And then you can also filter by the teams. Like I said, sometimes as a sponsor, you want to sponsor particular parts of the project, different parts of the ecosystem. Let's say you're building something that really relies on Gutenberg continuing to progress, right? So you're going to want to find contributors that are contributing directly to Gutenberg and sponsor their time specifically so they can continue working on those things. If that's the case, let's say in this example, I can just click Gutenberg, and now I have a list of the 4 people currently in here that have noted that they're specifically working on Gutenberg related things within the ecosystem. And so then you can see how many hours they are looking to be sponsored, how many hours they're already sponsored for their time. You can pick one. I'm going to click on Tammy's name here, and it'll take you to their profile. You can read, right? This is the bio that Tammy put in. So you can read more about the person that you're thinking about contributing to, see the different teams. Tammy does have a link off to GitHub where you can directly sponsor through GitHub if you want. And then everybody has this form at the bottom where you can send a message to that contributor to say, hey, I'm interested in sponsoring you potentially for your time with Gutenberg, time working on the Gutenberg project or part of the project. Let's get it together and chat that through. So you put in your first name, last name, email, and a little message, and that will go directly to the contributor, not to us. That goes directly to the contributor. They can see that message, and then via email you can go back and forth as the sponsor with the contributor and figure out what works, and then the contributor can come back and update their sponsorship hours and all of that.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the walkthrough there.
One of the things we wanted to make sure was that we weren't the middleman, so to speak, in any of it. So I did have somebody, when we first launched it, say, well, how do we get paid? That's between you and their sponsor. So that's why there's a contact form there. Every sponsor does pay out differently. Sometimes, so for like Kinsta, I have to invoice them my time every month. I don't have to give them a written account of everything I did, but I do have to invoice them, and that's going to trigger a payment to me. Others may, hit up your GitHub and automatically have a pay go through there. It really differs depending on who they are. And so we don't want to be part of that at all. And we certainly don't want to have any income through this that then shows up on our taxes, because we funneled money through to anybody else. And so the whole idea was to create this kind of a marketplace, I guess, a way to match up between sponsors and contributors, so that you can talk to each other, find each other easily, and then take the conversation offline so that you can have those conversations one to the other. And we also didn't want to put we didn't want any financial information to go through the site either. It just makes it a lot safer and more secure for everybody if your financial information is not showing up on our website.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're looking to be, and this is very similar to really how I've structured things with the WP world, how you structure things with WP speakers. Like, this is all just to kind of foster that connection between people in the WordPress space, whether it's people connecting with other people, companies connecting with people connecting with in this case sponsors, potential sponsors. You and I really enjoy building these projects that just create that connection between people, and then from there, like in the WP world, I foster the connection for people to meet up at a coffee shop. They have to figure out which coffee shop works for them and go hang out together and buy coffee and whatever. Same goes for this. We're looking to create that connection. And then once that connection is made, then the person who is sponsoring can say, here's what I need to be able to sponsor you financially, or the person who's doing the contributing can say, here are the different ways that I can accept, being paid or whatever. It's all gonna, like you said, it's all going to be different from person to person. And so we didn't want to force a specific way on anybody. And we also didn't want to really have our hand in any of that transaction, the monetary transaction. And so the site is just here to create a connection between sponsors and contributors. And then how they work that out is going to be different from sponsor to sponsor and contributor to contributor.
Yeah, we also don't tell you how much your hour is worth. So how many hours you do and what your hour is worth, because an hour to one person may be valued differently than an hour to somebody else. And so that is 100% between you and whoever's sponsoring your time in the community. So. Fantastic. So literally that's it. There's a homepage and there's a directory, and we haven't done anything else with it because it's by design should be simple and should be easy to use. I may throw something in there a little bit later about, how you can just reach out to people, and how we're not the go-between, a little more in-depth, if you will, of another page that just is a little more direct on how this all works. But for the meantime, I think it's very simple, very clear, very concise, which I like a lot. And the design, you did such a great job on the design, Marcus. Thank you. I say it's our project. It was my idea and 100% your execution.
It's funny because the design is like version 6. It's the only one that you saw, but it's like version 6 behind the scenes, because I could not get to a place that I was happy with it for a long time. And it was honestly not until I was playing with those silly avatars of ours, the AI generated avatars, that I felt like I had some sort of a design direction.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I kind of want to follow this direction. So,
I love that. So literally just go to sponsormewp.com for more information there. But a couple people have put some comments in the comments thread. If you have questions about this, we would love to answer them. We're a captive audience. We're live right now. If you're watching this later, you'll have to reach out to us through the website, I guess. But we would love to. What did I put to here? Yeah, if you have questions, there it is. If you have questions for us, post them in the chat, and we will be happy to answer them. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Just kidding. It's not that serious, folks, but it is a lot of fun. So yeah, if you have any questions or ideas for us, we're also open to ideas, right? So if there's something that we failed to see that'd be really amazing to have in there, tell us about it, and maybe we'll make it happen, and maybe we'll be like, no, because you never know.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
definitely one of the things that I've noticed through our projects, right? I'm sure you get the same, is once you toss it out there to the world and you start to share it more broadly, folks start to have some ideas of like, well, what if it did this, or what if it could do that? Like, I'm totally open to that, both with the WP World and Sponsor Me WP. Please share as much. Like,
absolutely.
I have a roadmap. I have lots of ideas of what I would like to do with this, and the WP World and everything else is a nice long list. But I can only think of so much, and I'm only going to think of so much, and I'm only going to think of so much from like one perspective, from my perspective. Right. And I have not, like, I was sponsored by my employer to work a couple hours a week, but that was like part of my regular job. So I haven't had to go out and find sponsors to specifically come and say, hey, we'd like to sponsor 5 hours a week for you to do this. So I don't have that perspective. I don't have that context. You do, so you and I can bounce that off of each other a little bit. But others who have gone through this, who have looked for sponsorship or have gained or have gotten sponsorship, reach out to us. Tell us what's worked, what's helped, what would have been nice, right? Maybe there's some things in that process where you're like, oh, it would have been nice if the sponsor had this information ahead of time, or I knew this about the sponsor when they were contacting me. How do I need to update the contact form, the individual contact form, to have more information, less information, structured differently? Like, I'm open to all of that. Like, and I know that you are too. So
absolutely.
If anybody has ideas on how, especially those that have been through some of the contribution sponsorship process, like, tell us what worked, what would be great to have that's not already there. We're totally open to
other than
adding those ideas
process.
to the list. You're right. Other than the payment process, because we do want to just keep our hands out of the proverbial cookie jar. That's between you all. We're not looking to have anything to do with the money part of it. We just want to,
and we're not seeking sponsorship for the site either. So like, it's literally, it just lives there. The hosting was donated by Pressable, so we don't even have to pay for that. I think I'm paying like $20 a year for the domain name or something like that. So our time has been the gift. Marcus's time has been the gift, because he
your
literally
time as well. Yeah, we're not looking to make anything from this other than connections between contributors and sponsors. This is our one of our gifts back to the community.
Absolutely. So if you have ideas, tell me and I'll tell Marcus, and he will know how to make them happen. It's my favorite thing. It's like, I love all your ideas. Marcus, the person had this idea.
Marcus, here's a list of ideas. And I'll be absolutely happy to work on them, because
you make things happen so quickly. Like the WP World, from its inception to where it is today, phenomenal, right? Just so phenomenal. And I think of all these other projects as being just like part of that whole universe of, like, it's a Venn diagram, and everything kind of, overlaps a little bit. We got a question, Erica. I saw Erica just last week.
Erica.
In Europe. So and she's on TikTok. Erica is on a recent TikTok for WordPress. And I was like, tell us in Spanish. And so and I didn't even know what she said until after I got it home. And like, she said hi to me. Like, it was so nice. So anyway, but the website is also for people who are not yet contributing, are also looking to be sponsored, right? I would say yes, if they're looking to get to be able to contribute and they need to be sponsored to do that. I have no problem with that. We're not gatekeeping it. So the thing I would hate the most is somebody says they're contributing, they're not actually contributing, and they're just siphoning money from some company. But that's up to the company to do some vetting and make sure that things align well, because we are not gatekeeping any of that. But that said, I will say if there are bad actors in the community and they're using our site nefariously, please let us know. I don't anticipate this community will do that, but we can remove them from the site if we needed to. So
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, she saw the video. It's because I tagged you on Twitter, isn't it? Yeah, that was so cute. I'm having so much fun, by the way, with the WordPress org Twitter or TikTok account.
TikTok.
And
I've seen a few
yeah,
of them.
TikTok. Oh my gosh, it is so much fun. So, so that's what we have got going on. And I hate to even say this part out loud, but if you have other ideas of gaps in the community that we can maybe help fill and pull other people into it, tell us, because there's probably a way to work it into the WP world, or even Post Status and things like that. So recently, Post Status bought WP Speakers, which means I still get to help manage it, but I don't have to deal with the dev of it anymore, which is nice. So Yo's team is doing that. So, and Dave says he's been following the WordPress TikTok videos. They are fun, a total fun. There's some funny ones coming up, man.
Oh, man.
I make myself look a little silly, and I'm 100% happy with it. So it's a lot of fun. We usually save an hour for this show. I think this project was, I'm not going to say it was simple to do because I don't want to downplay the amount of work that you put into it. But we've made it simple to use, or I'll say we've made it simple to use.
Yeah.
We've made it easy for you to be able to create that account for yourself. Now, my ask of people, if you're paying attention and watching, share it share it on social media. Tell your company, if your company is somebody who sponsors. The whole idea is not every company has the people power to be able to take 5 or 10% of their time and their team to contribute to the project. So they would rather use money to help other people who are already in the community do that. Yeah. And so that's why this is a perfect thing, is helping make those matches. So if you know people who are looking to sponsor, if you know people are looking to be sponsored, and please, if you see us posting it on social media, a simple share would mean the world to us, so that we can actually start to make some of those for people in the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to add, Marcus?
No, I don't think so. I think like you said, there's some complexity under the hood, but the whole point was to make the site itself as simple and user friendly as possible. And so share it, sign up if you're not already signed up, and then we'll get those sponsors in and get some people sponsored for contributing.
Let's make some magic. Last chance. If you've got a question, hit us up, because we're going to close this down in a minute. I don't have anybody for next week. I'm still working on getting a guest for next week's Post Status Happiness Hour. So if you have a project that you'd like to share, please hit me up.
It means we have a week to come up with another project to collaborate on, to build it, and then I'll just be back on again.
There you go. I'm like, hey, Marcus, are you free tomorrow? My project fell through for tomorrow. Hear me out. WordPress the musical. Can we do something by next week?
By next week, I'll get my daughter on it. She's musical. She probably would not be much of a help there personally. But
I was in a meeting earlier this week, and like in the chit chat time before things get started, like, what are y'all watching on TV? And I said, I'm rewatching Buffy the Vampire Slayer from the beginning. It's like, it doesn't even fit the TV because it's like square versus like the letterbox we're used to now. And somebody in the group said, once more with feeling, Michelle. And that was the musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So I have that in my head right now. I'm not really writing a musical. Okay. Dave's like, the musical backed up by Disney.
Yeah, it would be interesting. It's almost worth asking ChatGPT to like outline what a WordPress the musical would look like.
Oh my goodness. All right. If anybody does that, share it, because I want to
share it with us. I'm curious.
I am too. Well, thanks for being with us, everybody, today. Marcus, thank you again, especially for the last minuteness, but for all of the hard work that you put into sponsoring WP. I appreciate every time we have an opportunity to do something together or to share each other's projects. You are one of these people in the community that is just such a pillar of the community, and being friends with you on top of that is just the icing on the cake. So thank you.
Super appreciate that. So happy to work on anything at all with you, and even just chatting outside of WordPress. Always a good time.
I know. I wish you were going to Montclair too, because we had so much fun last year. Like,
I know,
hitting up Starbucks together and all the things.
I've been the last 3 years, and I am starting to feel a little sadness that I'm not going to be there
FOMO.
This year. But yeah,
we'll see you at US, right? We'll see you at US this year.
US.
Excellent. All right. So Marcus, don't hop off right now. I'm going to stop the stream. I got a couple quick things to share with you before I let you go. Perfect. Bye, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye.